I got her.
Good morning. And welcome on this nice, beautiful fall morning. Got up this morning, it's like I thought spring had come, but at least it is a beautiful sunny day. So welcome to those of you who are here. Welcome to those of you who will be joining us later, watching this on YouTube. No matter who you are, no matter where you are on God's journey, you are welcome here. I want to highlight a few of the announcements and share a few that aren't in it. First of all, I would like to thank all of you who somehow participated last week in the installation of myself as pastor from here at St. John's and at Hope U.C.C. As I said that afternoon, it was a wonderful celebration, not only of my installation, but of the agreement that you have made between the two churches of a shared ministry where you will at times combine not only services, but some of the outreach and other parts of ministry that you'll share together. But there'll also be you'll maintain your own individual identities and your autonomy as different congregations. Both are wonderful witnesses of how the body of Christ works. So I am grateful to all who participated. I understand that on a Sunday afternoon, it is not always easy to get here, so if you were not able to make it, I certainly understand. And there's a part of me that says it was beautiful and nice and warm last Sunday afternoon. I don't know if I would have come if I didn't have to be here, so I am appreciative of those who could come and understanding of those who weren't able to make it. Also want to remind you that the Rhubarb Fest is coming up, so the Women's Guild is starting to work on that. If you would like to help with baking or pies or anything else, please see one of their members. Also, we will a little bit later be celebrating a couple of our graduates. We have Deb Kunkel, who is in the bulletin, but we will also have Alexis Pickup, who has joined us this morning, and though we weren't able to get her in the bulletin, we will certainly ask her to come up later, and we'll have her in the, the Light, which used to be the newsletter I had before, the newsletter of the church, so that we can celebrate these and all such celebrations. And finally, as I said at the end of the announcement you'll see, please see me if you would like to be part of a worship or multiple worship services. If you're interested in being a reader of like a call to worship, one of the scripture readings, have musical offerings either through singing or playing, both solos and groups, or in other ways that I haven't thought of, please see me, for this is your worship also. And I want to involve as would like to be part of bringing the good news of God's love and light, not only to this community, but the world. Are there any other announcements to be shared from the congregation itself?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, sorry.
You never see my arm, I don't know.
I don't know.
Just a reminder that we do have cake in honor of the graduates downstairs after the service, or they'll talk about it.
So we will have fellowship afterwards, because we will have cake to celebrate our graduates also downstairs. So please join us afterwards, because otherwise they'll try to pawn it off on me, and I don't need that much cake. Any others? Karen, is this the last Sunday of...
This is our last Sunday of Sunday school.
Okay. So this will be the last Sunday of Sunday school. We certainly invite the children to continue attending, but to be aware of that, especially as parents, that if that is part of why you bring them here, and to know that we will be stopping until the second weekend in September, I believe, will be our kickoff. And I'd like to take a moment and thank Karen and all our teachers and our Christian ed people who have run this so well that I'm not even sure what they're doing down there, because they haven't needed any help, which is great. And I am very appreciative of all of them taking the time to spend not only teaching our youngest, but showing our youngest the love of Christ, not only in words, but through action. So I'm going to ask if you would give them all a hand. Well, let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship with our responsive call to worship. Please rise as able in body or spirit. Let the people praise you, O God.
Let all the people praise you.
Let the nations be glad and sing for joy.
For you judge the peoples with equity and guide the nations with honor.
Let the peoples praise you, O God.
Let all the peoples praise you.
Our opening hymn is number 350, Now in the Days of Youth.
Oh
as we gather together, we take a moment to reflect on the past week, together and in our hearts, to look at where we might have fallen short of what we had hoped to do or to be, or where we might have done something that we wish we hadn't. And we do so in confidence of the love of God, which is ever present for us, and which asks us to do those things not so that we can be punished or as penance, but so that we can let them go and have more room in our hearts and spirits for all that God offers and is. Please join me in our prayer of reflection and confession. Peace-filled and loving God, we have not yet learned to love you as you love. Yet even in our failings, your love has never failed us. Continue to show us the ways of your love and peace that extends the justice and the abundance of your reign. No matter what decisions we make, no matter where we may go, we long to follow Jesus. Provide your Spirit to teach us and lead us in the risen one's ways. Amen. Hear the good news. God's love for us is everlasting. God's grace towards us is ever present. So we are already forgiven, and we are already blessed. Please join your voices in stanza 2 of hymn number 59, Holy Spirit Ever Dwelling. I now invite Jacob and Alexis to come forward for a few moments. Good morning. I thought it was on. It's not hiding. Welcome, and we are so happy to be able to celebrate with both of you your accomplishments and your graduation. I was going to ask you both where you're graduating from, because I come from a district where the kids come from all different schools, but I think you're pretty well aware where they're both graduating from. So it's a time of celebration, a time of new things, new places to go. Some you may know, some you may not. A time to experiment a little bit and try maybe some things that you might not have thought of in the past, things that your parents, your community and all can support you in and guide you in. And so we celebrate you today, and we ask you to come up here because we want to send you off to wherever you go, wherever that may be, and send you off hopefully with our prayers and blessings, and hopefully with the invitation to please come back, whether it be next week, next year, or in 10 years, and share with us how it's going. So, I'm going to share a prayer. So let us pray. Holy and gracious Creator, we come with joy as we celebrate the accomplishments of Alexis and Jacob. You surround them with people who support them as they have reached this point in their life. Most importantly, you're ever present with them as they have come to reaching this goal. Bless them both as they go on to whatever is next for them. Fill them with the Spirit to persevere if it becomes difficult, to rejoice in good times, and to seek to follow in ways that live out their faith. No matter where life may take them, Remind them that you are not only with them, but that you offer them places of rest and comfort, strength and love. As they continue their entry into adulthood, give their parents and loved ones the wisdom when to step back, to let them be accountable for their own decisions and actions, and where they will still need some guidance and support. May both their faith continue to grow, nurtured by you and your love. Lead them to communities of faith where they can not only serve others, but experience your love through the love of others. Whatever good that we as a congregation have been able to provide them up to this point, may they continue to receive that and more from us, wherever they may find themselves in lives as they leave high school and go on to a new venture. For we know that they are covered by your love and care, that they are beloved children of you now and evermore. We pray that they not only hear this or repeat it in their minds, but experience that they are beloved by you in their hearts, their spirits, and life. In Jesus' name, amen. So I invite you now to congratulate both of them on their accomplishments and the fact that they're here, I think, the day after graduation, I believe, or is graduation next week?
Yes.
Next week, okay, the week before, so I'm counting that you're both going to make it till then? Okay. You don't know me, I'm a little weird. So let us congratulate them both on their accomplishments. And I hope you will both stay and join us for cake down there. And there'll probably be somebody who wants to take a picture with the two of you behind the cake before it's come. So, all right, thank you very much. Let us continue celebrating not only Alexis and Jacob, but all who are graduating this week and this month, as we lift our voices in song in hymn number 351. I was there to hear your morning cries. Please rise as able, in body or spirit. I lose the kids? Because I didn't have a children's room. So I had something for them, it just didn't get the bulletin. So I was going to read them a Dr. Seuss story, but that's because I'm going to read you Dr. Seuss later. So we'll save that one for that for another week. And so we come to our time for our listening together for God's voice speaking through our scriptures. Our first reading today comes from the book of Acts, chapter 16, verses 9 through 15. It tells of Paul as he has started his ministry out into the Gentile area, the area of those who were either not Jewish or were Jewish in ethnicity only. And it has taken him through the Middle East and Asia, and as soon as we will hear, will take him into the heart of the Roman Empire in Europe. As we listen to it, you'll notice that it talks in the plural first person, rather than usually as they talk about Paul did this, or in the third person. And that's believed because some of the book of Acts might have been taken from the log of a ship, for that seems to occur mainly when there is traveling by boat or that is needed. So let us take a moment and listen for God's voice speaking through these words. During the night, Paul had a vision, and there stood a man of Macedonia, pleading with him, saying, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." When we had seen the vision, we immediately tried to cross over to Macedonia, being convinced that God had called us to proclaim the good news to them. We set sail from Troas and took a straight course to Samothrace, the following day to Neapolis, and from there to Philippi, which is the leading city of the district of Macedonia and a Roman colony. We remained in the city for some days. On the Sabbath day, we went outside the gate by the river, where we were supposed there was a place of prayer, and we sat down and spoke to the women who had gathered there. A certain woman named Lydia, a worshiper of God, was listening to us. She was from the city of Syriaca and a dealer of purple cloth. The Lord opened her heart to listen eagerly to what was said by Paul. When she and her household were baptized, she urged us, saying, "If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come and stay at my home." And she prevailed upon us. Our second reading comes from the Good News according to the Gospel of John. We are once again still in the farewell discourse of Jesus, given on that night before his arrest and execution, where he attempts to not only summarize his teachings for his disciples, but to remind them and perhaps reveal to them for the first time who he is and who he has called them to be. Let us listen for God's voice speaking through these words. Jesus answered him, "Those who love me will keep my word, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them and make our home with them. Whoever does not love me does not keep my words, and the word that you hear is not mine, but is from the Father who sent me. I've said these things to you while I'm still with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, from whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I've said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. You have heard me say to you, I am going away, and I am coming to you. If you loved me, you would rejoice that I am going to the Father, because the Father is greater than I. And now I have told you this before it occurs, so that when it does occur, you may believe. I will no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming. He has no power over me, but I do as the Father has commanded me, so that the world may know that I love the Father. May God add a blessing of understanding to our hearing these words. Let us pray. Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts and spirits be inspired by your Holy Spirit, and thus made pleasing to you, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. I am still a big fan of Dr. Seuss books. Reading them brings back fond memories of my younger brother and I sitting on each side of my mother as she read them out to us, making her voice different when Horton Hears the Who would say, "People are people no matter how small." Their books are still beloved 30 years later, even acknowledging that some of his work perpetuates stereotypes that, while common in his time, are ones that hurt people. But the vast majority of his work that is contained within those pages of rhyming couplets of antiseptic meters are beloved lessons and teaching, disguised by fantastical creatures who lived in the invented lands that he created. Theodore Seuss Geisel, more familiarly known as Dr. Seuss, offers readers young and not so young stories combining lessons with those whimsical creatures and lands, all accumulating in his last book, Oh, the Places You Will Go. The main character of this book is right there in the title, Oh, the Places You Will Go, and you, and you. It's addressed to the reader. And here you are depicted as a little boy in a yellow suit. But it's still you. And so the book starts off. Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. Your brains in your head, your feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know. And you are the guy who will decide where you go. You'll be on your way up. You'll see great sights. You'll join the high flyers. We'll soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. He continues with these words of encouragement, but he also recognizes that this is not all that life is made of. That positive tone of encouraging you also talks about the times that you will face challenges. You'll take the lead except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm very sorry to say so, but sadly it's true. The bang-ups and the hang-ups will happen to you. We can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You can get so confused that you'll start to race down long wiggled roads at a breakneck pace. and grind on for miles across the weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape. All that waiting and staying, you'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. Oh, the places you go, the fun to be done, there are points to be scored, there are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Except when they don't. Because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win because you play against you. All alone, whether like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and you that can scare you so much that you won't want to go on. I don't know what happened there. He didn't rhyme. But you will go through weather be foul, and you will go though your enemies prowl. Oh, you will go through the hacking kraken's howl, onward and upward, many a frightening creep, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. And he ends it, and will you succeed? Yes, you will. 98.75% guaranteed. Dr. Seuss wrote this in his last year of life as he was battling cancer. He intended this as his sort of swan song. In fact, Phil Nell, director of the program in children's literature at Kansas State University, states that he knew this was his swan song, a career summation in a lot of ways, both visually and morally, in the messages and images. Seuss's second wife, Audrey, once remarked, "I think he was intending it to be a summation of his own life. He was taking everything he knew and putting it into the life voyage of this particular little boy." This combination of encouragement and advice has led to this book being given to many a graduate. Alexis and Jacob, if you haven't received it yet, there's still time. You may get one or two. The combination of nostalgia of giving a Dr. Seuss book to someone as they go into young adulthood, along with the reassurance of advice given in a familiar meter, often leads those givers to hope that will become not only a reminder of your childhood, but also a reiteration of the values that they shared with this young person as they go off on the next step of their journey. Similar to Seuss, knowing that this would be the last time he will write as he goes to the other side of life. In today's passage and in these chapters, Jesus knows that this is the last time that he will meet with his disciples on this side of the resurrection. His upcoming arrest and death will leave them feeling abandoned, as well as confused and ashamed over their own betrayal and abandonment of their teacher. What happens will call into question everything that they thought they knew, as well as the path that they thought they were following him in. Even after the resurrection, he knows that they will need someone to guide them as they go out into the world without him. So in these chapters of John, Jesus gives that farewell discourse, one last time summing up all his teachings for his disciples. Perhaps more importantly, Jesus holds out a vision of what will come next for him and for them after this time of confusion and fear. Jesus has already washed their feet and given them a new commandment to love each other as he has loved them. Judas Iscariot has already left the dinner to go turn Jesus in, upsetting his fellow disciples as their friend takes their leave. And before this passage, Jesus has reminded his disciples again that this is what must happen, that this is the only way that the world will see God's glory, that he is not merely a victim of the upcoming arrest and crucifixion. Jesus has willingly made the choice to be part of it, so that God's glory is revealed in his arrest. Yet even as he prepares to go, he promises them that he will not leave them orphaned or alone. He tells them that he is both going and coming, and so they are understandably confused. All this talk that seems contradictory and paradoxical. And so they begin to ask questions. First Peter, then Thomas, then Philip, who ask, where is he going? How will they know how to get there? And can he show them the Father so they know who that is before he leaves? They are attempting to comprehend all his walks and talks about loving each other as he has loved them, just after Judas has gone to betray Jesus. Jesus starts this passage answering the last question that was asked in the verse before. Judas Iscariot, in John's Gospel there are two Judases, asked him, Lord, how is it that you will reveal yourself to us and not to the world? However, Jesus doesn't appear to really answer Judas' question, but instead tells the disciples what he's leaving behind. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. I imagine that there are many times over the next few days, that Jesus' disciples wonder how Jesus could say that he was giving them his peace with all that they were going through. For often we think of peace as the absence of violence, such as when we pray for peace in Ukraine these past few months. Or we think of that inner peace, that quiet that comes from taking a break, from running from one appointment to meeting an obligation to another appointment to dropping the kids off here and another here, and who knows what else may be on our schedule. As a result, peace for us is often considered the absence of something negative from our lives. Violence, conflict, too much to do. And that is partly correct. Yet there's another part of peace. The part that I think we instinctively long for, even if we can't put it in words. A peace that is not merely a break from trouble or busyness or even violence. Instead, it's the peace that Jesus promises will be among his disciples, even amidst the violence and the injustices and the failures of the next few days in his arrest and execution. Jesus' peace has little to do with lack of conflict or violence, but the lack of fear and anxiety. Professor David Lose describes this peace as the peace of wholeness, even rightness, of and in one's very being. It's a sense of harmony with the person and things around us. Peace connotes a sense of contentment, yes, but even more one of fulfillment, a sense that in this moment, no matter what is going on, we are still basking in God's pleasure upon us. Another commentator puts it, This gift of peace is bound with all that makes up for righteousness or right relation: love, forgiveness, reconciliation, and thanksgiving. This peace is how Jesus will both be leaving the disciples but also coming. For he gets this peace abiding in the love of Jesus, of God, in the very presence of the Father. So even in his physical absence, he will still be with them. They will abide in God's very love as he does. And so he can't fully leave them. So Jesus provides his disciples with a peace that is a gift of love, an act of love, experienced in such a way that they share that same love with each other. For as David Lose reminds us further, this peace is not something that we somehow figure out how to do. It is a gift of God, something we sense most keenly when we recognize that there are limits to what we can affect or achieve on our own. And sensing those limits, we place ourselves, our loved ones, our fortunes, and our future in God's hands. And God's response to that is to give us peace. A peace that allows us to lift our gazes from the troubles that may beset us and see around those and in those a gift of God worthy of love and attention. What Jesus gives to his disciples here, and what he promises them that God will continue to give, is a community through which they will not only experience that peace, but the community through which others can recognize that peace of God through their love of each other. For unlike Dr. Seuss's advice to leave those who are waiting and go on alone, Jesus tells the disciples and those of us who come after them that they will come and go together. And as we wait, sometimes this will mean waiting for guidance or for others to catch up. Sometimes it will mean the type of waiting that is often scoffed at as not being productive or a waste of time or being some new age type stuff. The waiting of just being, not coming or going, not doing or chasing or pushing, just being the beloved children of God, the beloved community of God that we already are. Alone and together, just being and not doing is one of the ways that we open up that gift of peace that allows us to share the wonders and the gifts that it offers, especially in times of trouble, hurt, or sorrow, in times when we are confused or worried about what may be coming next. Here, Jesus reminds his disciples that it's actually within this community that Jesus has formed, and that as we hear in Acts that Paul and others will continue to add to through the Spirit, that they will know the same peace as him. Through their love of each other, their care not only for each other, but of each other, will they encounter and recognize this gift of peace. A peace that is found in God's love, a love which they can live in at that moment, because it's always and already there. And by living their ways within the ways of God's love, well, that will make loving others not only possible, but almost unavoidable, just as it is done for him. There's this paradox that by loving others, we experience God's peace, but we're able to love others in the same way as Jesus because we experience God's peace. Just like so much of our faith, it's not about earning anything or getting brownie points. It's about living within the gifts of love that we have. Just as you may have looked out this morning as you came here at the Mississippi and seen how beautiful and relatively still it was against the green trees. It was a gift. We did nothing to earn it. But I hope, will be something that enriches your day, enriches your sense of self, and enriches others. Alexis and Jacob. As I said, I do love Dr. Seuss. But if you do get this book as a graduation present now or in the future, please know that Dr. Seuss does get it wrong in places. He is right that there will be bang-ups and hang-ups that will happen to you. And while I doubt that you'll hear the Higgins Cracks howl, there will be times that you find frightening, scary, by real things, real circumstances in life. There may even be times when you feel abandoned, hurt, or alone, or perhaps you've experienced that already. But Seuss describes success as including pulling yourself out of your own and leaving others behind. Well, 98% and 3/4 of the time you'll find that he's wrong in one of two ways. One, we really can't go it alone. We just aren't wired that way, despite all those messages that are around us. That our ultimate goal is to be completely independent and on our own, able to rely on ourselves and ourselves alone. God creates us, longs for us to live in interdependence with each other and with God. We make our lives so much more difficult, so much harder and less joyful when we listen exclusively to those messages of complete autonomy, and that for us to succeed, others must fail. Or two, if at some time you are actually able to make it alone, all by yourself without anyone else, you'll probably find that you're wounded in such a way that you're a little harder emotionally, a little less willing to trust, to care about someone else, for someone else at least outside of some small, safe circle that you develop and you decide you're safe. And while that may bring less conflict, it won't give you more peace. Just ask any of us here. For the peace that God offers is not the one that the world offers us. The peace that God offers us is the realization that we are never on our own, even when we think we are. It's the peace that we experience within this world, and one that we can share with the world. For it is always there, no matter what comes, no matter where we go. God's love offers us a peace that is beyond imagination, but not beyond experience. It's a peace that they will later experience as disciples when Jesus comes back to the upper room, and his first words to them are not, "What did you do? It's going to be okay," or "Boy, are you in trouble?" But again, gives them the gift of that peace. Peace be with you. May we know that no matter the places we go, we have that peace in God, in God's love, and each other. Amen. I invite you to rise, and if you are able in spirit or body, Sing number 249, Peace I Leave With You, My Friends. Because we are called together as a community of love, we are called by God and enabled by God's Spirit to lift up and share each other's joys and sorrows, celebrations, fears, and worries. As we prepare to lift our hearts in prayer, are there any joys and concerns to be lifted from the wider congregation? Faye did give me a prayer request for Steve Baumgart, who is facing some serious medical issues. Are there any others from the congregation? Yes, Linda.
Addison, mom's cousin's daughter, had her CAR T cell transplant this week, so we need to just keep her in our thoughts. The next 28 days will determine whether she needs another bone marrow transplant or not. So she's at St. Jude's in Memphis.
We'll certainly continue to keep Addison in our prayers. Any others? Then let's pray first in silence and then with words. Oh, how you long for us to live in true peace, O God, beyond a peace that means only an absence of violence or times of quiet. We rejoice that the peace that you offer us can be experienced in good times or bad, amidst confusion or when filled with confidence and certainty. We give thanks for this peace of yours that is based on your love for us and your love of us, for it makes it possible for us to love others. Life brings many changes, some welcomed, some feared, and some resented. Whatever happens in life, whatever may be going on around us or in our lives and hearts, continue to provide us the peace that only you can, the love that only you can provide. We ask for this gift of peace and its fullest manifestations as we lift up these simple yet profound longings of our hearts and spirits. For those in Ukraine and wherever wars waged, terror enacted, or violence wrought. We pray for those who lack all that is needed to live full and healthy lives. We pray for creation itself, that we may live in harmony with it as you intended. We pray for peace among the anger and divisiveness that plagues so many, and that can lead us to reconciled relationships, acceptance of our differences, and sincere efforts to understand each other, even when agreement is not possible. And we pray for the peace and grief that you can bring, that offers hope from despair, the peace for those in pain, illness, or injury, that offers wholeness and connection, even if recovery is not possible. We think especially of Addison and her family as they await these next 28 days to see if that transplant works as hoped or if more treatment is ahead. Continue to surround them with not only your strength, but your rest and your love. And for ourselves, we long for peace from those resentments and hurts that we need to release so that we hold on to your love rather than anger. And we ask all this so that we may love each other as Jesus asked us to, and as you long for us to do, with our actions and our hearts, and not just words. Holy One, we lift up all these prayers, as well as the unspoken ones of our hearts and spirits, in the name of Jesus, using the words with which he taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. We continue to take take up offerings for the ministry of this congregation, both within and outside these walls, and the plates at the back of the narthex, at the back of the sanctuary, if you wish to support our ministry in this way. But we also, during this time, not only remember those offerings, but all that we have given to this week. Ones that have provided presence with those who are lonely, compassion for those in need, love and healing wherever we might go. Let us take a moment now, lift up all these offerings, and dedicate them to God. May these gifts be used to build the beloved community through our hands of service, in the power of the Holy Spirit, and in the name of Jesus, our Messiah. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 270, Like the Murmur of the Dove Song. That Jesus talks about encompasses that word. A peace that goes beyond the lack of violence or inner peace, but includes justice, God's justice for all, enough for everyone, abundance all around, and joy living in community. May we experience shalom in our lives and in our world. And so, may God be gracious to us and bless us and make his face to shine upon us.
That God's name may be known upon earth, God's saving power among all nations.
May God's yield grow across the earth. May we recognize the ways God, our God, has blessed us.
May God continue to bless us and be gracious to us, so that God's love may shine through us for our world. Amen.
May God bless you and keep you until we meet again. And please join us downstairs so that you can congratulate Alexis and Jacob personally.
Yeah. something to Linda, because I had told her that we wouldn't be gone, but she'll be here if she needs somebody to help. The delivery, because the delivery is next week. Yeah, in the morning at 11. Unless you don't want me to say something.
But the top,
Yeah,
they're hot. No, I wouldn't.
yeah. I'll just go tell her. If you want me to, say that you'll be available for delivery. Well, you're not coming down. Yeah. Well, I would have down. No, but I'm just saying that if the first, whether we go down or not, doesn't matter. You'll be the 1st of June. Is it the 1st of June? 2nd.
You're not going down there the 1st of June.
We will if it rains on Wednesday.
I can't on the 1st.
I know it.